Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Rose.
And I'm Jessica Bun Bun.
Welcome to our Paradise Season 1, Episode 7 reaction and review. We finally know what happened in the past, ... question mark, maybe, question mark.
Yeah, it seems like we've gotten quite a few answers, and including that there is going to be a season 2.
Yes.
It has been renewed. We are absolutely loving this show. It is so good. It feels great to sort of be back with Sterling and Dan Fogelman. Like this show has been so great.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited that we're getting a season 2.
Yeah, I mean, was episode 6 thoroughly polarizing 1,000,000%, because it went from 0 to 100 with Sterling really quickly, where all of a sudden this show is turning into Platoon. But on this episode, it feels like we were somewhat grounded, which is kind of insane given that we're still talking about the possible end of the world here.
Yeah.
But we did get an episode that was full of a lot of information.
Yes.
I think there is a lot of clarity. I actually feel confident now in saying that I do not believe Sinatra killed Cal, and I think we are in this position where the mystery is being blown wide open entering the finale.
Yeah, we've learned from Sinatra that somebody from the outside actually got in, was able to traverse through all of paradise to actually get to Cal's room and do this. And the idea of that, of someone from the outside actually getting in, is really exciting. But the idea that somebody from the outside got in and was able to actually find their way into his suite is really mind-blowing, because that would mean that they would either get very lucky, or they had someone on the inside that was able to help them in some kind of way. Because otherwise, yeah, there was rumors, oh, there's this place out here in Colorado, but nobody really knew much about it, how to get to it, where it is. Colorado's not small.
No.
You know, it's how would they actually find it? And then how, when they get in, are they able to navigate it? And then how are they getting to the president? Somebody is helping from the inside, and that somebody is Gabby.
Oh, I was going to say that person is Carl. Well,
I know.
Are
you think Carl is.
I am the president of the Carl Truther fan club.
I know you are.
No, it could very well be Gabby, but I think there's a case to be made for both. We'll get into what those cases are. Who is the person being brought in from the outside? Does that matter in certain contexts? But before we do, be sure to hit that subscribe button, because yes, we only have one more episode to go of Paradise, but there is a season 2 coming. There's a lot to be excited about. Also, there's just a lot to be excited about here on the channel in general, with the White Lotus having just premiered, with us getting into Severance, and also with Jess's 50th birthday on the way. We are trying to get to 70,000 subscribers, and subscribing is, of course, the perfect way to help us be able to do that.
Yeah, I'm really excited. My birthday is on Friday. I am turning 50, is the big milestone. 70,000 is a huge milestone for us. We've been doing this a really long time. So thank you so much to everyone who is helping us get to that milestone by hitting the subscribe button. Also, you can support us further by joining our Patreon. We'll leave a link for you below. We are covering The Pit, which is airing on Max over there. And then we are also covering over there Prime Target, which is airing on Apple TV Plus, and is the only place that you can get those weekly reviews. So thank you so much to everyone who's been supporting us and helping us out.
Thank you, guys. We really appreciate that. Okay, let's start with Gabby. Give us the Gabby goods here.
I just have felt from the beginning that she is suspect. She knows way more about this place than anybody else. She, in many ways, feels like she's either an equal to Sinatra or even above Sinatra. She has chosen every person that's there, everything that's in there. This whole place is created by her, and I think, as much as Sinatra feels like this place, you know, is covenanted, it needs to be exactly the way it is. Xavier, do what I say. I'll give you back your kid. Maybe we'll get your wife in here, but you need to make paradise exactly what it is. Undo it all. I feel that Gabby is feeling exactly the same way, and I seriously think she's behind it all. Somebody from the inside has to be helping the person on the outside.
Yes.
And if it's not Sinatra, it's not the neighbor with the dog. I know you really think it is, but I just don't think he has as much information to be able to get someone from the outside in.
Okay, here's why I'm kind of very suspicious on Carl right now. And it sounds silly, but it is Chekhov.
Although he did sneak that dog.
That's it. It's Chekhov's dog. We spent this time with this dog to learn that, okay, he was able to sneak the dog in. So it's like, okay, Carl, you know how to sneak things in, apparently, living animals. So is it that crazy to me that therefore you would know how to be able to sneak a person in?
All right, I'm convinced.
Okay, well, I don't know if it's that convinced, but
No, I still think it's Gabby,
I
but
think
it's convincing.
Gabby is still probably the top candidate just because she has the blueprints of everything. She knows how everything works. She has probably way more connections on the outside world than Carl does. The other thing that is interesting about
Yes.
Carl is that he is just working in information technology. So he would at the very least know a lot about how that stuff would work. And I think the question mark with Carl then is, okay, is there something on the outside that with him that we just don't know about right now that would make it all the more interesting as to why he would want this to happen? Because we can get into the, oh, who has all the resources to make this happen, but it also has to be, okay, who wants Cal gone enough that they're willing to have somebody come in and do this, unless for whatever reason they didn't know that the person they were helping get in was going to be able to go and do this. I mean, that's a pretty big risk in itself, though.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem with the Carl theory. All theories are correct at this point, though.
I know.
I mean, nothing's off the table. They're all right. So make sure you give us yours.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know what his motivation is. We haven't actually been around him long enough to be like, well, why would he want Cal dead? Why?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me at this point. But for me, for Gabby, if her whole world that she's helped create is going to get exposed or pulled apart or broken down because Cal is going to do that. And in this episode, we definitely know that he would. When the end of the world was coming, he was like, no to this canned speech. I'm going live and I'm telling everybody what's happening because everybody has a right to go home to their families and say goodbye. This is not going to be the way that it's going down. She, I feel 100% knows that that is what he did, right? As everything was happening. I think she knows that once he started to get this more information, that he was going to bring it to everybody and just tell everybody. And that needed to be silenced because she was going to lose everything.
Information is power in the world of paradise. Like, that's a very, very big deal here. And the motivations to want to get rid of Cal at this point are, it has to do either with information with Cal, like you said, that you do not want him spreading anywhere else to make sure this problem is just taken care of. Or it is something as simple as vengeance, which, you know, I know you love vengeance.
I love revenge.
So I think there's something to be said for this idea of, oh, are you so vehemently angry about the idea that he installed this basic blackout protocol, if you will, to make sure that people on the outside world had a chance, and you're wanting to act out on the basis of that? Or this is where I am struggling a little bit with the idea that, okay, was this really somebody from the outside world who came in and did this? Like, should we trust Sinatra? Because it's like, how many people on the outside world do we really care about, like, who are going to do this? And then it just comes back to, okay, well, then Terry killed Cal, and Terry came in there and took out Cal because she is upset or wants revenge because she was left behind. But that seems possible, but very soap opera-y, and I don't think the show's gonna do that.
Very unlikely. That would not be satisfying at all, that she's going to be like, oh, you saved my husband and you saved my kids, and yeah, I didn't make it, but now I'm going to have revenge on you for that. I just feel like, no, it's not her. But I think with the blackout, this whole idea of like, oh, I can shoot these out and, you know, deal with it that way, or I can click this button. It's going to take out all communication and everyone's going to have a chance for whoever's able to survive this is really interesting. It's something I would have never thought of, never seen before. But there's not that many people that know that that happened. We know that Sinatra knows. The person, you know, might have overheard where Cal was like, you know, don't let her do anything, get her out of here while I switch this button off. It just feels like, because that information isn't widespread, there's only a couple people that know about it, Gabby is somebody who would know about it, and that would know that with Sinatra having this radio now, that's like, oh, they have been able to get some radios together and this going on. I think Gabby will know that information, but I don't think Carl will. So how are you going to be able to kind of connect to the outside?
that's the thing that they have to figure out. And I hope there is a twist as unexpected as this blackout protocol was, because they're
I just
clearly
like Carl too much. Like, he can't be the bad guy. He's the only person who brought in a dog. They never leave your pets behind, no matter what they say. Carl is a hero.
Okay, see,
Stop besmirching his name.
I think it's just the only reason I don't want it to be Carl is he just reminds me too much of Joe Latrulio from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I like that character, and I'm just like, okay, you can't get rid of Carl for that very reason, but I just think at the end of the day, they're going to want to surprise us in one of two ways. Either with the person who's behind all of it or why they're behind all of it. And I think, like, if it is Gabby, I think the twist then is going to be like, okay, well, why is she behind all of it? And I think there's going to be a larger motive there that we don't necessarily know about. And with Carl, it's going to be, okay, there's a lot going on here that we really don't know about. And maybe the name himself is a little bit surprising because he's not the first person we would expect.
I think the thing about Sinatra is that her ego is too big to not tell the truth.
Yeah.
Like, even her, by the end of it, being like, maybe I am the monster sort of thing. She's been brutally honest about a lot of things that she really doesn't need to be, but I feel like she just can't get out of the way of her own power. Where I feel like Gabby, who feels, like I said, either an equal or above her, is more controlled than Sinatra is in that way, where if you push the buttons on Sinatra in the right way, she'll just start having like an evil plan reveal for everybody to be like, by the way, there was this, also I did this. And I think Gabby doesn't do that, which makes her a lot more dangerous.
Well, this is where things get really complicated when it comes to this quote unquote cliffhanger at the end of this episode, where Sinatra just decides to give her a whole evil monologue to Xavier and is basically like, okay, guess what, Xavier? I'm going to make sure that you are the one who solves this case. You figure out who kills Cal. I will make sure then that Presley is okay. And I think she's telling the truth with that. I think the hard thing, though, with Xavier at this point is you clearly have a motivation to, okay, I need to make sure I do this to save my daughter. But there's no way that even though whatever audio, whatever proof that Sinatra may give you that Terry is still out there, she's never going to let you see Terry. You're never going to see your wife again so long as she is in power. You have to sort of live with that, but then also be driven enough to save your daughter. And that's just like a really depressing place for that character to be in moving into the finale.
Okay, here's my tinfoil hat and a bit of a spoiler for people that haven't seen Silos season 1, which aired a couple of years ago. At this point. Okay, so I'm starting to feel like that's absolutely going to happen. He'll get his daughter back, but Sinatra's going to be like, on the wife, no, because she's not actually in here and we can't let you leave. It feels like he's going to leave Paradise with his kids and that we might be sort of out in the wasteland next season for a lot of it. And we'll still see some of what's going on back here, but he's going to be able to solve what happened to Cal. It feels like that's going to get tied up, but the bigger mystery is going to be revealed in the finale. And then he's going to have to leave Paradise to be able to figure that out.
One of the things that's useful about this show in particular, I mean, obviously we're thrilled about the season 2 renewal. Dan Fogelman has said in the past that this show is basically a 3-season concept. It's kind of like Ted Lasso in that way, where maybe at the end of season 3, they'll come back and be like, oh, maybe we want to do more. But
we love money.
Why not? If you just give Jason Sudeikis all the money, give Fogelman and Sterling all the money too, if it comes down to that. But I think we can be heartened by the approach that, okay, they're not going to waste a lot of time here. And if this whole murder of Cal ends up getting solved and this show does evolve into, okay, we can have this search for Terry, we can do that and do it confidently because we know that that's not going to be what the show is forever. There's another plan that's going to be coming after the fact.
All right, how do we all feel about this reveal, if this reveal is true, that it's not somebody from Paradise? Because all season long, we've been all here being like, here's my tinfoil hat, it's this person, it's that person, it's this person. Ha, 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 it's not any of them. It's someone you've never met and they're from the outside. How are we feeling about this? You guys let us know in the comments. How are you feeling about this reveal?
I don't like it. Well, the biggest reason I don't like it is because other than this absolutely insane Terry idea that seems like it's terrible, I don't know if there's any other person out there that would be any better, because it's all going to be terrible. We don't know who any of those people on the outside are. So the only way you're going to be able to sell that, oh, it really is somebody on the outside that's doing this, is if you're casting somebody who is a really big name that's going to get people excited, and you're going to find out their backstory over time, and maybe that will make a little bit more sense. Like, I'll say this for, I don't know, for a lot of the This Is Us fans. Like, let's say this Milo Ventimiglia comes in the finale, and it turns out that Milo is from then maybe we'll be a little bit more thrilled about it because it's a This Is Us connection. But even still, it's just not that easy to get super psyched about a killer who's somebody we've never met. And that's applicable to any murder mystery show across the board, because then it kind of raises that question of, okay, that's cool and all, but what have we been doing all this time? Is it just a waste of our time? And that's why I struggle a lot with the idea that I think Sinatra is telling the truth about a lot of things, because, like you said, she's got that ego. Maybe she thinks that this is the case, and maybe she's just wrong. Maybe I'm just wanting to believe that that's the case.
Yeah, it's possible that she's wrong, and her intel has come back that that's what has happened. It's someone from the outside.
Yeah.
But if it's someone from the outside, my
Yeah.
tinfoil hat theory is we met them in this episode.
Oh.
And it's that woman that Xavier promised kind of, was like, yeah, we'll figure it out. Said that he was going to do what he could to help get her kid on this plane. And she was like, now you have to live with the fact that you said this, and now they're going to die. That blood is on your hands forever. If it's somebody, it's that person on a revenge tour.
That would at least be satisfying from a motive point of view. Like
Maybe Cal wasn't the person that, if it's her, maybe Cal wasn't the person she was looking for. She was looking for Xavier. And because he is typically with Cal, she thought that that was where he was going to be, wasn't there, was like, all right, I'll take out Cal, because I worked for him for a really long time, and he just left me here to die and left my kid here to die. So you know what? You're also on the list.
Well, what is interesting about that is that's another fun murder mystery. It's definitely not a trope, but it's something like, I think it was on the After Party at one point, where it's like, we have this whole murder mystery, but at the end, the person who ends up dying wasn't the person who was intended to die in the first place. And that kind of elevates things to yet another level, because maybe that is the thing that causes Xavier to really reconcile some of the feelings that he has with Cal. Because watching this episode, it's like, okay, we finally have a sense now as to where the full extent of this feud with Cal and Xavier comes from, that he feels like Cal could have done something so much more substantial to give information much earlier, and he could have saved his wife. And I'm coming out of this feeling like, okay, if I'm Xavier, I understand where you're coming from. I understand you're hurt. But it also felt a lot like Cal was trying to do whatever he could in a lot of these situations. Like, I believe him when he's like, the scientists are saying this, and everything just advanced so much faster than anybody could have predicted, because everything they were working with up against that time was theoretical. It's like, we're not all equipped for these post-apocalyptic situations where everything may fall apart really fast. Like, I didn't come away from this episode feeling like Cal was some terrible person for what he did to Xavier at all, honestly.
Cal told him a couple episodes ago, long before this was happening, where he was like, something is I can't tell you what it is. He was honest with him. I can't tell you what it is, but what I can tell you is you need to stop your wife from traveling right now. Something is coming up, and you need to stop her. And Xavier's like, oh, I can't stop her. She does what she wants. Okay, well, that's fine. But then you can't say that Cal didn't tell you. I understand that he didn't tell you how urgent it was, but he told you it was urgent enough that you need to tell your wife to stay put. That feels pretty urgent enough. It's like, yeah, I can't give you the information, but don't let her go anywhere because something is coming. That's enough for me to be like, okay, I'm going to go home and have that talk.
Xavier, to quote the great and most ironic band ever in Oasis, don't look back in anger, because looking back in anger has caused you to feel all these feelings, have this long simmering beef with Cal, who was your friend, who I do think wanted to help you, but I think you're so torn up about this, and I understand you lost the love of your life, and it's just, it's clearly not something that Cal ever intended to have happen to you. But I do think that if we're sort of piecing together the pieces like this, this finale needs to sort of put us on a spot where maybe Xavier
Let's
can
go.
start
This
to
is
move
us.
forward. The reason I was thinking Randall was I was comparing it in my head to that season of This Is Us where we had the feud, you know, with Randall and
Yeah.
Kevin, and they kind of had all this anger, and eventually they had to sort of learn to set that aside. So I'm just thinking now, Xavier, you need to be a little bit more like Randall, and you need to sort of realize that this hurt is not going to ever do you any good at this point. And I think you need to be, you know, present for your kids. You need to be aware of everything else that's going on. And I don't think you're ever going to be able to heal unless you kind of figure out some element of forgiveness.
And sometimes people don't heal. That's how grief works. I
Yeah.
mean, there is no time limit on grief and how long it takes, or if you ever get past losing someone or losing something. It doesn't, it doesn't work like that. It's all emotion, right?
Yeah.
And whether or not you can handle that emotion or not handle that emotion. And now Cal is gone. So now that he has hope that Terry's out there, I just feel like things are going to escalate to the point that he's just going to leave. I just think he's going to get his kids. He's going to get out. I think he's going to be able to tie up this murder as well, but I think it's going to be less about who got in and more about who let them in. I think that's the bigger mystery of it all. Like, if it turns out to be this woman who was promised that she could get on the plane, or told that her kid was going to be saved, and was like, oh, you did me dirty, now we're going to die, it's on you forever, I would be satisfied after seeing it in this episode. But if it is nobody that we have seen, and it's just a random angry person that came in here and that Gabby let it happen, they're going to have to really explain it, that it has to do more with Gabby and she needed the president to be quiet. Because it feels more like this is a revenge tour.
It's going to be a really hard pill to swallow. Like, I want to have a lot of faith in Dan Fogelman because he's done so many great twists in the past. So I'm just sitting here and being like,
he can land the plane.
I feel like he can land the plane. And I will say this in general about this episode. Like, this is less to do with theories and more to do with just presentation. And we kind of alluded to this earlier, but it's this, I bought in this episode how they were sort of presenting the end of the world.
Yes.
More than I did this last episode where Xavier and Robinson and everybody else was like mounting, their own counter to what was going on. And it's so bizarre to think that, because everything in this episode was amplified and we're talking about all of the human race. But I think they did a really good job of sort of presenting the slow decline of things. And I think the most effective thing they did was these newscasts where you have, the quote unquote crazy guy who's turning out to be true, who's just swearing on live television, but we see fewer and fewer people on there. And then it's just sort of like him and the newscaster at the end. We see everybody freaking out. I just think they handled that part of it really, really well, to then when we got to the point where they're getting on the planes, it's like, okay, I buy it. I understand the panic. I understand why everybody is so uncertain. So, I mean, hats off to you guys for managing to pay that off in this episode, because I do still think that this is way too short a season at 8 episodes. And there were some major things in here that were rushed that really didn't have to be.
I'm kind of surprised that the guy who predicted this, that was swearing up a storm on TV, wasn't brought underground with everyone. And I understand that he would have probably come down and been angry or whatever it is, but he is the person that predicted that. And it's not predictable that nothing's going to happen to you underground. I know that we're all sort of in this TV land right now where everybody's got these secret societies underground and nothing goes wrong underground and everything. There's no natural sort of disasters that happen underground, but that is not true. So the idea that you wouldn't bring the person who predicted this to make sure that nothing happens underground, to find a way to be able to get him to be a functioning member of that society. He can be like, I told you so till the end of time, and ever be like, dude, you're right. You did tell us so, and we need you, and we are all sorry, and we are all going to listen to you, to the point that they can gas him up to be like, okay, I'm functioning down here now. I'm going to make sure nothing happens to this society, and you're all going to listen to me this time, right? Yes.
Right? Okay, here's the last question that I have. Somebody supposedly goes into paradise, takes out Cal. Where are they? Where are they now? Are they still in paradise? Did they leave? Did they go on the outside? Because it kind of feels like having somebody both leave and go out of paradise, that nobody who's watching the place would detect that. Like, it is a lot.
Yeah, I think that either they're still in there somewhere and Gabby's protecting them, or Gabby's killed them, or has somebody who has killed them.
I think it's something that you guys have to answer that.
Or they're still around looking for Xavier because he was also supposed to be taken out.
Well, we'll hopefully get answers on all of this in the finale. I mean, we're really excited to see that, but also sad because that means we're probably not getting the show for a really long time.
And probably not getting a lot more Cal. Man, that
Yeah.
speech that he gave that was not the canned speech was 10 out of 10. It was so heartfelt,
Yeah.
so well done. I mean, I really felt myself like my heart was swelling. It was so well done. Beautiful episode for him.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know, what do you think is going to happen in the Paradise finale? Who do you feel is going to die? Who do you think the killer is? Also, hit that subscribe button. Help us get to 70,000 for Jess's birthday, and you can support us further by joining our Patreon. That link is in the description below. We are covering there The Pit on Max and Prime Target on Apple TV+. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you here next time.